Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynic Alex, and today I want to talk to you guys about Alliance tournaments from the Arena tab and what I do to try and choose the best possible pick each week to maximize the amount of gold that I receive. So hopefully with my tips, you will be able to choose alliances that you think are going to win, and you're going to have a good margin of victory for those choices. And the alliance you will choose will be one of the alliances that gives you the maximum payout possible. Because every week, inevitably, I do get those questions, hey, Cynic Alex, who did you vote for? And people just often sheepishly go with what I'm saying or what someone else is saying. So instead of that, I want to show you guys how I pick a winner, which is pretty good considering my track record of almost always picking someone that ends up in the top 3, and how that will be able to benefit you by getting you more gold than potentially just voting for who is going to be number 1, because it is a little bit more complicated than that. So before we actually get into that, I want to talk a little bit about Alliance tournaments and what it is for those of you who are not super familiar. Competing in Alliance Battle and Alliance Battle Extreme will add points to your alliance, and then the top 16 teams at the end of the week are chosen for the beginning of the next week to be in the Alliance Tournament. Now, the Alliance Tournament is much like Alliance Conquest. You choose 3 characters and you send them off to fight against 3 characters from the opposing alliance, and then whoever wins in the round robin in the final 16 will move on to the round of the quarterfinals, which will then move on to the semis, which will then move on to the final round and the losers bracket for 3rd and 4th place that we just had finish today. So rewinding back, you actually are going to make your decision for which alliance you're going to cheer for in this initial bracket of 16 teams. And this is where you're going to get all of the information about which teams are the best and which teams look good. And this is where you're going to make or break your gold for the week. So, taking a look here at the bottom, we can see that there's a crown symbol and there's an exclamation symbol. The exclamation symbol is going to be the more important one for now. We don't want to worry too much about the tournament rules because we're not in the tournament. We don't want to worry too much about the participation rewards because for most of you watching, you're not in Alliance tournaments, but if you are, good luck to you and let me know how it goes. We are going to focus, however, on the 3rd tab here, the cheer reward. So the cheer reward is what you get if your cheered alliance reaches a certain rank. So the rewards are pretty bad if they just reach the final 8 or the final 16, but I want you to notice the cheer ratio. That is the more important point, because the more people that cheer for an alliance, the lower the rewards are for that alliance succeeding. So for example, if your cheered alliance wins and they have less than a tenth or a tenth of 1% of a vote, you get massive rewards, 1,000,000 gold, 500 black antimatter, and 500 Nordstones of Chaos. That's insane. If you have between 0.11 and 3%, which is a healthy number, you get 700,000 gold. Now, these 2, or those 3 at least, are outlier numbers. That would be like a dark horse alliance coming out of nowhere and defeating the competition. That doesn't happen very often, but it's important to take a look and note what the cheer ratios are when you are voting. As you can see here, some of the teams range from anywhere less than a percentage, for example, Invasion Force, 0.545%, I'm just picking this at random, to someone like Dream, which is almost 45% cheered. Almost half of all of the Marvel Future Fight players who are choosing to vote, because not everybody remembers to cheer, are choosing Dream. So because a lot of people are choosing Dream, when we go over to the cheer reward, Dream payout is actually quite low. They are in the last bracket, which is 40.01 to 100%. That means even if Dream wins from all the way at the beginning all the way to the end, you only get a payout of 200,000, which is the minimum payout you can get for a winning alliance. Conversely, the alliance that I cheered for in this week's tournament, Apple, got 2nd place, as we saw from the last round here. They lost quite handily to Dream. They didn't have a chance from the beginning, I think, but I voted for Apple, and wouldn't you know it, for reaching rank 2 and being in the bracket of 4.5%, they are collecting me 300,000 gold. So I actually got back more gold than the half of the players who voted for Dream. You might be thinking, wow, that's just the luck of the draw, but this actually happens a lot. And so I want to give you guys some tips for how you can choose an alliance that's going to give you those better rewards, and how you can figure out and eliminate, doing a process of elimination, and funnel out the ones that are outliers and the ones that are kind of, you know, looking good but not actually going to perform well, and then end up with a good choice in the end. It really helps to follow the Alliance Tournament results week after week. So if you haven't followed them before, now is a good time to start. I would definitely take note of the fact that Apple beat Dream and that A-Force Avengers lost to SNH, which is Synergy plus HKG Super Team. More importantly, I would note that Apple almost lost to A-Force Avengers in the semifinals. That would have been a huge upset in my book, and that Dream didn't beat SNH by very much. Those are two pretty important pieces of information to note. You can also note that Ultimate X and A-Force Avengers almost, you know, switched up and lost and won. Anytime it's very, very close, you want to take note of that for future instances, especially when it's the quarterfinals, semis, or the finals. A couple more things you can do is don't just go for the alliance that has the top cheer number. I know that Dream is the safe bet, and they have been the safe bet for probably the last 3 or 4 months. So if you want to be safe and go for someone who's likely to win, Dream is your best bet. But if you click this crown at the bottom here next to the exclamation mark, you can go back in the Hall of Fame. This goes all the way back to the very first tournament, back when Secret Avengers were actually still an alliance, when loyalty counted, and you can see how different alliances competed and how they did. There is a competition not that long ago where Dream actually lost in the semis, I believe, or it might have been in this one, in the final 8, and it was Wanted S and Vietnam Beasts as the final 2. So using this information from the Hall of Fame is actually very crucial, and it's what I do to choose and kind of predict winners, because I have a list of about 10 alliances or so in my head who tend to do well when they get into the tournament. The thing is that because Alliance Battle is so competitive, and because the scores are constantly, you know, dipping and rising, different alliances will get in different weeks. So some weeks Heroes United will be in, and some weeks they won't. Some weeks we'll see Nevermore, and some weeks we'll never see more of Nevermore. Sometimes Korea gets in. Nick Fury wasn't in this week. They'll probably be in next week, and it kind of ebbs and flows. So you need to take a list, or you need to keep a list, a running tab of these teams, like Apple, like Vietnam Beasts, like Plurk, or Nick Fury. These teams that do well when they show up in the Alliance tournaments, even though they don't always show up week after week. Also, if you notice a team that you think might do well, but you don't see their name, or you haven't seen them in a while, try and go through, if you have the time, through the Hall of Fame and see if you see them. I went through this week and I was looking for instances where Apple did well. And it obviously counts as well when they don't do well, so this is a bit of a letdown that they only got into the final 8, but then we see here they were 3rd place behind Secret Avengers and Dream the tournament before, so they have shown some consistency. Another thing you want to do, and probably the best tip that I have for you guys, is to choose based on the side of the bracket that they're in. So you don't want to choose a side that's heavy with a lot of contenders. So take, for example, this week's bracket. The left side has a lot of alliances that may have good alliance battle scores, but that traditionally don't do well in alliance tournaments. You know, Heroes United, No Fear, Invasion Force, Bir Bintang, and Justice League. They get into the Alliance tournaments frequently because they have high scores, but they don't have enough invincibility obelisks, and they don't have enough of that PvP Alliance tournament setup and pedigree, so they usually get dunked in the first round. I do know, just based on my experience, of course, Dream does excellent, they do very well, but also this Chinese alliance, which, excuse me, I don't know their name or I can't pronounce it, they also do well when they get into the tournament. And I actually voted for them a few weeks ago, it might have been a month ago, and they did extraordinarily well. They placed 3rd behind Wanted S and Dream. So you do need to keep track of alliances even if you can't pronounce them. That's not an excuse. But you can see there on the left side that we basically just have 2 alliances. We have Dream and that Chinese alliance. So what I could have done, if I thought that Dream might lose, I could have voted for the Chinese alliance. And wouldn't you know it, they ended up losing in the 2nd round. So it wasn't a very good choice if I had done that. However, looking at the right side of the bracket, you can see that it's a much clearer choice for who you want. Plurk, Ultimate X, A-Force Avengers, Synergy, Kai'Sa, Sovereigns, and Critical Mass don't tend to do very well. Kai'Sa has had some success in the past, A-Force Avengers as well, but otherwise these alliances are not very consistent in tournament. However, I remember for a fact, and you can check back if you're not the type to remember, that Apple does very well when they get into the tournaments. They're a Korean alliance, even though they have an English name, and they do well when they do get into the tournament. So given that fact, and given the fact that they're on the opposite side of the heavy favorites, which is Dream, I chose to go with Apple. If I was going to distill my strategy down for you as succinctly as possible, I would say find the side that Dream is on, pick the strongest team on the other side of the bracket. That's basically how it's been boiling down the past few months. There isn't any other alliance that can punch out and knock out Dream, so you just want the one that's going to make it to the end to fight Dream, to lose to Dream, and then you want to hope that not a lot of other people vote for that alliance. The last piece of advice I want to give you guys is have some fun and be experimental with it. Don't just vote for an alliance because you're in it. Don't just vote for an alliance because other people tell you to, or because you think it's a safe bet. Go for the dark horse. I mean, the cheer rewards are built in such a way that it rewards you for being creative, and it rewards you for thinking outside the box and maybe taking a flyer on an alliance that might not have done well and might get crushed. But if they manage to pull it out, you could be in for some seriously good rewards, even if they don't rank very well. They could get rank 3, but if less than 3% of people vote for them, you get the same rewards, if not better, than the alliance that wins. So you don't even have to be second place. So I implore you guys, have a little bit of fun, support the underdog, the dark horse, and see if you can get a little bit more gold out of alliance tournaments. And you know what? Maybe if you're not even voting in alliance tournaments, now's the time to start doing it. So I hope these tips have been helpful for you guys. I hope that I've shed some light on the strategy and how I choose teams that I think will win and that I think will make it to the top 4, to the top 3, maybe even to the top 2 and top 1. And of course, guys, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.